Okay, we're live. So this is Family Business Practice live on yet another session, and today we've got Moon Ling. Moon, what are you going to talk about? Compassion, isn't it?
Today, yeah, we're going to talk about everyday compassion and how that is relevant to your business,
That's
especially for those
fantastic.
who run your own family business.
Oh, there you go. Well, we're really looking forward to it. So we're live. I'm going to press the add to stream. So you've now got that there, if that's okay. And it's over to you. Off you go.
Actually, can you stop sharing the slide first? I just want to do a very quick exercise.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
go on then. Let's do that.
Thank
Go on.
you. Okay, so thank you for joining me today. For those who is watching live, so this could be an exercise you can do as well. So we have just a small audience here today. Now, I want us to take a couple of minutes and started to pay attention to the screen. So pick one person from this tiny screen. You can pick, nobody knows who you're picking. So just hold that person gently in your gaze. Okay, so focus on that person's face and maybe just relax your body. I know all of us has been working the whole morning, so maybe your shoulder is a bit tight. Now, as you relax your body, just gently look at that person, continues looking at that person. And if you can, if you have a good imagination, just imagine what that person would look like when he or she was 5 years old. Imagine that person was 5 years old. Imagine their face, the characters. You might know that person well or not really, but just imagine at one point he or she was a child. And see, just like yourself, this person wants to be happy, wants to do well in their jobs, wants to achieve, wants to care for their family. And just gently feel yourself relax. You might have some preconceptions about this person if you don't know them well, but really, you don't really know this person. And just tap into how you're feeling. How are you feeling towards this person? Now, finally, imagine this person comes to you or not. A lot of us are bearing our own worries and anxieties. We're not sharing them, but imagine that they do come to you and share with you. How would you feel? And lastly, this is the final part of exercise. Just cultivate a sense of good willings towards this person. So you can say things like, I hope you're happy. Or the traditional phrase that we practice, we can say, may you be happy. May you be strong. May you be well. Okay, that's it. Now, I just want to check in with all of you. So, thank you for trying that out for me with me. I know it's probably not a typical way to start a live session, but how do you feel when you're looking at one of the person that you pick? What was the feelings that you were experiencing?
I was thinking, I bet you were a nightmare when you were 5 years old.
I was
I was.
I was thinking that too. I thought that I bet she's a right cheeky little
I was a
dingo.
nightmare. Yes. Yes. Oh, thank you for picking me. Okay. Okay. What else? What else did you feel? How do you feel if you were paying attention to your body? How did you feel?
I actually felt quite excited, and it's like because I know that you and I we have conversations and chat backwards and forwards, so I actually feel quite buoyant and joyful when I talk to you. So that's how I
Mm-hmm.
feel.
Hmm.
Great.
I can picture you as a actually picture you as a little bouncing little 5-year-old bouncing around, laughing and smiling and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I guess I did not say the instruction clearer. Well, I was picturing you, Alan. So that was a
Thank you.
really nice experience. I
Thank
was
you.
like, oh, I wonder what he's like. Okay. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, no, it was quite. I've done similar things like this with my NLP, but it's always nice to have this kind of thing, and it was just nice trying to think of stuff from other people's perspective for a change, rather than your own.
Exactly.
You said about the busy morning, and it was quite nice being able to take a bit of a rain check on that.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing actually, so I'm hearing Jay is about curiosity and being energized by the ideas of thinking, oh, what a person could be like. I'm also hearing happiness. It's instead of feeling, ooh, I'm so busy with work. Actually, if you take yourself out of that moment, you feel like, it's quite nice. It's nice to think about other people in this way. Okay, so compassion. Compassion really is a tool to assess happiness. So one might argue that um, the happier we are, the more compassionate we are, and vice versa. So the more compassionate we are, the happier we are as a person. So maybe, Peter, can you share my slides now?
There you
Oh,
go.
thank you. Thank you very much. So what about compassions at your business? So the first things I want us to do in the chat now, think about, so there's a lot of ways that when we think about compassion, but what are the traits, what are the characteristics that you typically associate with somebody who is compassionate? Or when you think of the word compassion, what comes into your mind? Please share that in the chat. Caring. Yes, Peter, care. Considerate. Being available. That's beautiful. Yeah. I love that, Jay. What else? Listens to me. Yeah. Attentive listener. Think of somebody that you know. It could be a historical figure or somebody in your family. Think about their characteristic. Seeing the world through others' eyes. Yeah, open-minded. What else? What are the characteristics of somebody who is compassionate or associations? Fairness. That's interesting. Non-judgmental. Absolutely. Okay. So I'm hearing there's a lot about actually the actions. So it's about listening, attentive listening, being there for somebody, caring, and being fair. So there's a lot of ways to look at compassions. So these are the words when we think about compassions. We think about kindness. I think that's a really big one. Curiosity. So it's this sense of, I don't know all the answers. I don't really know this person. Empathy is very often associated with compassion. And if we want to go a little bit further, we might say forgiveness. You know, maybe somebody has made a mistake. Maybe you have made a mistake and you try to forgive yourself. There's a sense of generosity. So Jay talks about being there. So availability, right? Just being there, the act of presence, being there for somebody. And then there's a willingness to see beauties in other people. And I think that's really hard because that is what, Jay touched about non-judgmental. So if you are not willing to see other people, then you are judging them. But if you are willing to see there's beauties and good attributes in other people, then that's also a way of being compassionate. And then mystery is seeing challenges and strangers in a way that is not always bad. So we talk about a perspective of seeing gifts in other situations. So when I think about somebody who is resilient and compassionate, I can see that this person has the weight to turn challenges into gifts and opportunity. Beautiful. Now, there are three components of compassion. So the exercise we just did just now, we're looking at each other. So a lot of you were looking at me. Thank you so much. So it's like a cat looking at a dog. Sometimes it's like we don't really know what the other creature is. So the components of compassion comes from, first of all, is effectiveness. I feel for you. So whatever that person is experiencing, you probably have experienced, vice versa. And then the cognitive component is I understand you. I know how you feel. And obviously, that's not always the case. Sometimes we don't understand other people, but if we try, then we are exercising compassion. And then there's another part. The last part is motivational. And I think that is probably the highest standard. I want to help you. I think it takes a really big person, to sit in front of somebody who they might be in conflict with. But thinking about how can I help this person, even though I might not like his political view, I might be in conflicts with him. How can I help that person? So those are the components of compassion. Now, I'm here to talk about what if we reframed compassion in business? What if compassion is fun and profitable? Isn't that crazy? So if you think about compassion, you think about, I don't know, Mother Teresa, somebody who is always sacrificing. But what if we can make it fun? It could be something that out of curiosity, it could be an invention, it could be a gesture that we extend to other people. And then we have fun during that. What if it's profitable? What if your business, gearing around your own business proposal, doing things for other people, but also bring you profit? So this is something that you can do. Now I'm going to use a very simple, and sorry about the picture, it's not a very good picture, but I learned about this concept from watching one of the earlier senior leaders in Google. His name is Chapman Chand. And he used a lot of different examples. And one of these I thought was brilliant. So there was a therapy, there was an engineer, and then what's the third person? There was also a chef working in Google. They are not particularly in a higher leadership level, but they heard that there's a village in India where over 200,000 people have no access to medical equipment. So these three people came together and they started a fundraising. So they raised enough money to build a hospital in India. So this is the hospital they built. What a great gesture. And what we call, so when we think about corporate compassion, actually it started from the bottom. It's actually not from the top. So a lot of the examples that he gave was that people were able to come together in a grassroots level. They started a little for movement, and because the movement becomes bigger and bigger and becomes so big that it becomes official, and then there was more initiative and all of that. So imagine in your business, if your staff, including yourself, was thinking about actively serving the better good of the society, what would that look like for your business? This is really inspiring. Okay, now, how do we create a compassionate cultures? I was going to share the slide one by one and just talking to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly go through the slides, and then we can have a discussion together. First of all, we talk about a level 5 leader. So this is somebody, I think it's called Tom Collins. So he wrote a book about what differentiates from a good leader to a great leader, a good business to like most amazing business. So when you look at a level 5 leader, you look at somebody who is humble but ambitious. So when a good leader has humility, they're not too worried about their own egos. They're not self-obsessing, what's happening to them. They're paying attention to those around them, their staff, the business, and also serving for the greater good. So what is my business doing in the world? What kind of impacts am I bringing to the society? Now, the second one is really important, is we have inspiring workforce. So imagine going to work and everybody respects and admire each other, right? Back to the little example that I just gave. Those 3 staff, they created this little movement. And imagine the people who look at them. Of course, they want to be part of it because it's building a hospital for somebody who needs them. So ask yourself, what is your company and what is your job serving for the greater good? So I want to pause here, and this reminds me, not too long ago in a session, one of my clients, when we were talking about visions, when we were talking about their own business, she came to a realization is she's a content creator, but she's like, actually, even though I'm just writing blogs, even though I'm just creating content for their website is a really important part of their business. And because of that, I'm helping them to build a business. I'm also helping them to pay their staff. I'm also helping them to, take care of their family. So she was able to connect all these little dots. Whatever you're doing now, there is a bigger purpose of whatever you're doing. So think about how are you serving for the greater good. The last thing is autonomy. So this is really come back to, especially if you're a business leader, how are you paying attention to your own personal development? So this whole session is about personal development. The people here today, they care about their personal growth. So we focus on our own self-awareness and self-mastery. And what it means is we focus on what we're paying attention to every single day. How is our mental fitness? This is one of my passions. And then self-knowledge. What are the things, what are my blind spots? What are the things that I need to pay attention to that I don't know? And then also mental habits. What are the positive mental habits that you can build every single day that is beneficial, that can stand you out as a great leader? So the last one is this is a last this is the last slide. So this crazy new mental habits, and imagine if you do have this. So imagine walking into a conference room, you don't maybe know all of the people. You look around, there's some strangers, you have met some of them, you smile, you look at them. But what if the habitual thoughts that you have at that precise moment when you look at the conference room and the strangers is, I want you to be happy. What kind of mental state would that be? That is astoundingly positive mental state. It's when you look at strangers, automatically you wanted them to be happy. Well, how would that impact your business? How would that impact the way that you interact with your staff? How would that impact the way that you interact with your clients? So that is it. I would like to stop sharing now and we can have a discussion and multiple things. But yes, first of all, let me hear your insights. What has triggered you by just looking at this slide?
I'll start it if you like, Moon. I think what a great thing to think when you walk into a room that you're thinking, I want to make you happy. And it's a really nice, a lovely sentiment. I really do. I know that could be ridiculous in some ways, but you have to take the principle of it. I think that's a lovely thing to do. And it's interesting. If I think of all the years of sales training and development that I did in corporate days 25, 30 years ago, the one thing that they forgot to tell you most times was the absolute the obvious one, which was when you walk into a room, smile. Smile, and don't be the person that brings the house down around when they walk through the room. In other words, be the person that is trying to make people happy. And I could think of many people in those days, and unfortunately still today, who would walk in a room and the room isn't very happy, is it? Because they're thinking about their challenges, their troubles, etc., or they're bonkers enough to listen to the TV and the press that are all whinging, whining, complaining, and moaning. And so when you walk into a room, you should be smiling and happy. And I think that's a really, really good reminder. It's a really good sentiment, actually.
Yeah. Well, that's the attention piece. What I'm hearing, Peter, is sometimes we focus and we pay so much attention on the negativity around us. Actually, it's really hard to embody that positive trait. And I have dealt with big corporations before, and I know exactly what you mean. Like the people who are just really serious, they're like really hunching, and they're like, oh, the going gets tough. What if there's another way? What if we just show up as genuine human beings? Okay. What else?
It's one of the things that I'm sort of blogging about at the moment, or preparing a blog on, is about it's going to be also going to be the presentation that I put together for next month about to do what you love, and I think that's really important, and help people to do what they love.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just being approachable though is most important, I think, because if
Mm-hmm.
you're negative and you're closed down and you're in a bad mood, then there's no way that someone that's also having problems or might need someone to listen or someone to talk to is never going to approach you. They're never going to. They won't see you in that way. So
Mm-hmm.
even though, we all have issues, we all have problems in business, in personal life, and that's why I personally always try to have a laugh at myself because
Mm-hmm.
if it's going to happen to anyone, it's going to happen to me. No, but I think that's important. So it doesn't matter how fed up you are about something or how down you are about it. If you try to look at it in a positive way, it's easier to get through it. That's how I deal with it.
I think one of the biggest words on Moon's list was empathy, because I've got first-hand experience this week in that I'm doing, I see myself as reasonably tech, but I've been struggling with a real tech issue this week,
Oh, wow.
trying to set up a marketing funnel, and trying to basically get three systems talking to each other. And so I went out to the three platforms, with support tickets, and all I got back was documentation proving that they couldn't do what I wanted to do, with like zero empathy. And
Wow.
in the end, I had to sort it out myself. But it reminded me, and I know Peter says this all the time with regard to family businesses, where we're all different to that kind of culture, is we go out of our way to try and understand things from the client or prospect's perspective and help them through things like you would a family member. So it really, in a kind of what I'm trying to do is turn what was a huge negative into a positive here, because it made me reflect how bloody good we all are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So Jade's touch upon about this inner awareness, like understanding yourself and don't take yourself too seriously as a leader. And I think what Dave touched upon, the empathy part, absolutely. I have some poor experience recently with service. I wrote a very angry review. I was going to publish it on
I
the
can't
Google review.
imagine you writing an angry review for the life of me.
It was one page, like a one-page Word document. I haven't published it. I'm like, I'm gonna sit on this because I was really angry. But there's other ways I felt like that business entity does need to know because the service is so poor, it's appalling. Um,
But you can
yeah,
be constructive. I think there's nothing wrong with leaving a review that is constructive and also informative
yeah,
to other people, because the
yes,
best the best empathy you can have is, in my mind, is that you want to stop anyone else having that same bad experience and giving them a bad
mm,
day. But also you don't
hmm,
want to, because there's quite a few people that leave reviews that just say this was rubbish or worse,
yeah, not
and
constructive.
um and it's not helpful to anyone. That, and the people that also read it, it doesn't put them off. They just look at it and think, well, that person's obviously an idiot, if that's all they can say.
Mm.
So it doesn't put them off you buying from that company. But if it's a constructive message that says they really didn't come back to me, the customer service wasn't great, the
Mhm.
product wasn't great, then more people are prepared to read it, because it's not empathetic in the slightest. It's clinical. And that's the best way to be when it comes to
Mm.
reviews. But you're being empathetic because you don't want anyone else to go through how mad you were
Yeah.
and how
Yeah,
annoyed you were when,
yes.
yeah.
Well, that's what I did with this experience. In one platform in particular, I did write a review, and I emphasised how technically great the damn thing is when it's working, but what an absolute brain
Mm.
ache it is if you want something that it doesn't kind of sing to,
I think the
and
other
how
thing,
bad the support was in helping you with that, basically.
I think, Moon, what you said a few minutes ago, which is I'm going to sit on it. I always suggest to people, I try hard to do this. I don't always. I'm saying I'm perfect, but when I'm really annoyed and upset with something, and I write it down, Most times I'll wait until the next day, and then I'll read what I've put down again and say, is this really what I want to say? And hopefully the anger's subsided. Occasionally it hasn't, but most times it has. So I can be more objective. If I'm more objective, you can be more, to use the word, you can be more compassionate in that situation then. I think it's when you're wronged and you know you've been wronged, it's very hard to be compassionate.
What a good point. What a good point. Yes. Well, I think that's the blind spot. There's many things that you guys just share. I love what you said, Jay, about thinking about other customers and you don't want them to experience that. That's exactly. So I am going to write a review and I want to be constructive. Actually, my review usually is like points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yes. And what you said, Peter, about sitting and not responding, that again, that's self-knowledge. When we are not constantly responding to things that's throwing at our face, that takes a lot of practice to just be able to sit back and say, well, hold on a minute, I don't have to explode right away. There's a way to do this, there's a way to approach this, but it's hard. I don't think because we want quick results. We are in a fast-paced environment, so especially come to your business. When it comes to dealing with, I'm trying to relate this to my own business in the sense that sometimes when I talk to people and what I'm hearing is just so many doubts and suspicious about what I do, I think sometimes that's really challenging. Instead of understanding what I'm offering, that person is just asking loads of questions, coming from a place that they basically saying that they don't trust what is happening. And when I look at that, I always have to come back to myself and say that, not all customers are easy to handle. Sometimes customers are a little bit difficult. So how do I interact with this person from a place of compassion? So how do I feel for this person? How do I try to understand this person? And how do I gain this person's trust? So yeah, that has been quite helpful in terms of creating that space and, not reacting immediately.
It's not always easy to do, though, is it?
No.
No, sometimes you think, I want to destroy.
But it's just the other side, isn't it? It's what makes us empathetic is also what makes you angry. It's what we're all passionate about things, and I think it's very much trying to understand yourself and how to control your own emotions. And if you can do that and be positive and be outward, then that's when people are prepared to take time to listen to you and see that the services that you offer and the compassion that you give is available. And I think that goes well for me personally. That goes both at work and in my personal life as well. So my guys, they could phone me on a Sunday afternoon and I would still help them no matter what. So to me, it doesn't just mean work means between 9 and 5. Compassion to me means 365. It makes no difference to me when it is, what time of the day or night or whatever. We've even been out and helped people on Boxing Day and stuff like that. So that's what matters. But it also is what makes allows you, if you've got no feelings whatsoever, you would have no compassion, but you would have no anger either. So you can't have one without the other.
If I could just share something with the rest of you that I shared with Peter earlier on, was last night, my neighbour over the road, the man committed suicide. And and it was discovered by his son and his family as they turned up on his birthday to bring him presents. So my wife and I opened our house up to their family to come in and have a place to be that was where they could, some of it let it out and some of it to have a space in which they could only begin to deal with a dreadful thing that's happened. It's very, very.
That's showing compassion, isn't it?
I hope so. Yes. And even though it was really difficult because there was a lot of emotion, clearly there was a lot of emotion about just being there for those people was what I felt was really important. So yeah.
I want to.
Go on, Jad.
Sometimes I want to argue that fundamentally, as a species, we always have this willingness to help. If you look at little people, without whatever life has thrown at them, I think there's always a piece of us that wants to see other people happy. But sometimes, with a difficult childhood or perhaps not having the best role model, and that kind of chips away. So I think it's so important, thinking about what you just did, Alan, the elements of immediately jump into the situation and offer your help. That just demonstrates that your core value, of who you are. And that is the compassionate being that you are.
I think it also it's that is compassion at a great, because you might not know these people and you're letting them into your inner sanctum, into your home. A long time ago, the house over the road from John and I caught on fire, and they were all connected together. So all the other neighbours, I literally went around every house and got everyone out, and we got everyone in our house across the other side of the road, people with the little babies and stuff, because we didn't want them being out in the street in the cold while stuff was being dealt with. And I think that we didn't know half of these people, but I wasn't prepared to leave them standing out in the street in the cold in the night. Those are the sort of things that most of us would. It was compassion, but that was more safety, keeping people safe and warm. And you wouldn't ever want your own family left out in the street, or your own brothers or sisters or nieces or nephews. So you would do for other people what you would hope someone would do for you if you were in that situation. And I think that I would like to think that all humanity is like that, even though we have a couple of bad people out there that gives us a bad name. I'm hoping that most people aren't like that.
I think so. I think so. Yeah, extending help. But also helping other people do make us happy. Because when we are not so obsessed with what's happening to me, my life is terrible, but it's like, no, look at other people's life. You can help them. They're in a so much worse situation than you are, and they are soldiering on. So there is a component of what I would call it's even a little bit selfishness. But actually, if we all act, if this is how we act every single day, I'm talking about everyday compassion, which is, what can I help? If this is how you truly live your life, I think you will be very happy. I think this will dramatically change the quality of your mind and the quality of your life.
Moon, we normally run to about 30, 32, 34 minutes live. And then what we'll do is we finish the live transmission, because most people going live, that's kind of as long as they want to be. And then we carry on conversations ourselves inside the practice for the next sort of 30 minutes or so. So any final thoughts, just briefly, Moon, and then we'll do that.
I think I'll just maybe ask a question in the group, because I'm genuinely, really happy that you guys were able to share something that is so close to you. So what would be one compassionate things that you will commit to do today?
Good question.
I'll let Annie have my other half of my sandwich.
Oh, that's really big of you. I hate sharing food.
I'm telling
I would never share my food with Adrian.
Sorry, I couldn't resist it. You know what I'm like. So
I won't mention the football to a guy I'm seeing tonight who happens to be a bit of a Preston North End supporter.
Oh dear.
Who we beat last night.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I think, Alan, you've already done it, haven't you?
Yeah. So I'm just thinking we going on supporting our neighbour is basically the most immediate thing.
Bless you for doing that.
I'm trying to help out my landlord, because one of the tenants that he has gone into administration, so he's been left high and dry. So I'm trying to now help him get the business premises ready and get it let as quickly as possible, so he's not out of pocket. Which I'm not. I'm just helping him. I'm not. It's not a job or a business agreement or anything. It's just because he came to me for advice and help, and I've said, yeah, let's try and get something sorted. So that's my task for this afternoon.
Fantastic, Jay. Thank you. Okay, that's it.
All right.
Thank you for sharing.
Round of applause for Moon, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So if you've been watching this live or as a recorded session, I'm sure you will see how to get hold of Moon if you want to talk to some more about compassion or other areas that she covers. Thanks for watching us. I'm going to end the broadcast now. Thanks so much indeed. Hold on.